So since you talk about not only you guys doing only the hardware like the PCB, like the speaker or the amplification, you also talk about the streaming as well. So I want to ask you a little bit about the new streaming software, because when I see it, you guys included almost everything you need in the streaming side. Every T+A product I see is like it's like the user can have it all that you need. So would you elaborate further on that, especially with the new software update?
Yes, you know, streaming has developed very quickly. I mean, I joined T+A 9 years ago, and back then, when you talked about streaming, you were looking into, okay, how can I retrieve music from a NAS drive or maybe from a USB stick? But then really recently, over the last few years, the streaming services became more popular. And our current generation streaming client, the G2, what we call it, was launched in 2016. And back then, 2016, it was fine. You can, you know, access music on your NAS drive and listen to it. We even implemented the Tidal, Qobuz, Deezer, that you can log that into your machine and then listen through that and use the T+A app. Streaming services becoming more and more popular, and also new features, for example, like Tidal Connect, where you just really use your Tidal app and play it on a device you like. We felt the need of upgrading our streaming client, and we've started working on that already quite a while ago. And I can tell you a little bit of a story. The first product to feature the new streaming client is the PSD 3100 from our HV series. The PSD we showed the first time in 2022 at the High-End show in Munich, and the plan was to start shipping, you know, shortly after the High-End show. The problem we had is that the processor where all the streaming client was designed, that was ordered 1 year before from our supplier, and by the time, you know, we were due to receive the shipment, we got the information from the supplier, sorry, we can't supply you the processor, you know, we don't know a new date, basically we have to cancel your order. So we put 1 year of R&D into the new streaming client on the processor board, which wasn't available any longer. So ultimately, really, we had to start from scratch again, which took another year. So we showed the PSD for the second time in the High-End show in Munich in 2023, and then in autumn or summer 2023 we started shipping the unit. But really, just that processor board which wasn't available really cost us 1 year, and that's the reason we're a little bit behind schedule with all the other projects. Right now we have just launched the R2500, like an, let's say, all-in-one unit from our R series. That has got this new streaming client on there. And what we want to do is that, I hope this will happen in the course of this year, that we offer upgrade packages for all the existing models. So for example, if you're looking at this MP3100 here, that unit has been launched in 2017.
Yes.
But there will be an upgrade package available that you can put the new G3 streaming client in there. And then you've got all the functionality that you mentioned before, you know, Tidal Connect, Spotify Connect, AirPlay, all these features. So, and at a certain point, basically all the existing models, all the MPs, you know, MP2000, MP2500, MP3100, SDV3100, we're working on bringing those from the factory with the G3 client. And the plan was actually that it should have happened already last year, but due to the delay, the initial delay caused, we are just, you know, have to hurry up a little bit.
So the one thing that T+A was very famous for, especially you talk about the streaming, so it will be the digital side, because when I see into T+A products, what intriguing me is always there's two DACs board for PCM and DSD separately, starting from the DAC 8 DSD, and the latest one is the DAC 200, which is very successful products, recognized globally, and sound very good as well. So that's why I was wondering why T+A is always included two DAC board, like one for PCM and one for DSD.
Our head of R&D, Lothar Wiemann, who has been with the company since, you know, almost from day one. I mean it in a positive way. He's a very audiophile nut person, and really he likes to, you know, investigate on those things. And I think about 10, a little more than 10 years ago, he started looking into this DSD topic, and also seeing that some good DSD recordings around, and so he always felt bad for converting, if you have a DSD program, converting that into PCM. And that's why he came up with the idea of, okay, let's make our own DA converter for DSD. And this is how finally we ended up with a true 1-bit DSD converter that was featured first in a DAC 8 DSD. So that was launched, I think, back in 2015, 2016, around that time, so roughly 9-10 years ago. But that DAC was perceived very well, and especially by a lot of computer audiophiles around the world who had their DSD files on their computers. And this really led us to the point that say, okay, why not put that into all the other products we have? Because really that makes the T+A products unique, and for audiophiles who really enjoy DSD, they can do it in the best way of just going really straight through and not having to convert the signal somewhere along the signal path. That basically was the idea about it. And we really, I think we reached the peak of this in 2018, where we launched our, let's say, reference streamers with the SD or the SDV 3100 from the HV series, where both units feature a DSD converter which can do up to DSD 1028. Later on, that technology also was kind of trickled down into the DAC 200, which I must say, last year has been our most successful product. So in the years before, really the top sellers was always some items from the HV series, but last year the DAC 200 just went through the roof.
So let's go back a little bit to the 3100 HV products, which is T+A, the flagship and most renowned for, which is very famous in the audiophile world for their functionality, versatility, and also the sound quality as well. So I was wondering, how can T+A achieve such a balance between functionality, versatility, and sound quality comparable to other separate components, all included in one chassis?
I think the main reason is really down to the design. So, for example, in the MP3100, I mean, you have to see it's compared to an R series, it's a big product, but compared to what's inside, it's actually still a compact product. And you have to see that we have a digital board, there's an analog board, we've got 2 separate power supplies, and this is part of the story, how we really can get the good sound. And really one important thing is to keep any interference out of each of the components. So if you look at the inside of the cabinet, you've got very thick aluminium walls which separate. So basically there's one on the horizontal axis where you have on top, you've got I think it's the analog board or digital board. Anyway, and underneath is the analog board, and then on the side panels there's again 2 separating boards, thick aluminium panels, and then you have got one power supply which is purely for the digital part and another power supply purely for the analog part. And I think this is the reason why we can get this good quality out of just one box, because there's really a sophisticated internal cabinet design. Another thing that makes the HV series very well, because the name HV stands for high voltage. So really the idea is that we're using a higher rails voltage, a higher operating voltage to get a more linear sound transfer, and I think this really works very well in the HV series. However, talking about higher voltages, with normal amplifiers, you're talking about like, I don't know, 50 to 100 volts. In HV series, we easily go to up to 300 volts. So that, of course, requires better components, requires different power supplies. We have to really get rid of the high heat in the cabinets, and this requires a lot of thinking and a lot of design. But again, just looking at the front panel, for example, this is like 5 centimeters thick already, but it can absorb a lot of heat which is created inside. So yeah, although they're compact units, but I'm not shy to say that they really can keep up with single components which are much bigger.
So that one thing is also you mentioned about is the aluminum chassis. That is always a traditional from T+A, from the very beginning products like the Carousel to the 200 ER and 3000 HV is always the aluminum cabinets. So is that because of the heat transferring, or is it due to like the sound or the resonance inside?
Or it's heat transferring, but there's one very important point. It's non-magnetic.
Oh, no ferromagnetic.
And this is very important when it comes to good sound quality.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
that's very interesting.
Yeah.
And let's end this interview today with a very interesting story from mine, because I was the first person to unbox the HA200 and the Solitaire P in Vietnam.
Yeah, yeah.
So I still remember that product is when the first time T+A introduced a headphone, very surprised. And also the sound quality is so great. And nowadays you have 3 headphones. One is the P, the PSE, and also the Solitaire T, which is the most expensive wireless headphone, but also the best sounding one. So I was wondering, will T+A further introduce and expand on the headphone side as well, beside the traditional electronics and the speaker?
Yes. We don't want to go into too many details, but for the Solitaire P and PSE, we're using the planar magnetic driver. The Solitaire T has got a dynamic system. Based on this dynamic system, I think you can be sure that sooner or later you will also see just a passive dynamic headphone. And on the other hand, we've also done some experiments with an electrostatic headphone. So this is probably also something we might be looking into the future. But definitely, at the moment there's 3 headphones, but I'm sure over the next couple of years there'll be more to come.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for doing an interview with us.
You're welcome.
And I hope you have a great trip in Vietnam, and we hope to see you next year.
Okay, thank you. Well, it's great to be here. I always enjoy it. Thank you.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã theo dõi video. Nhớ là like, share và subscribe nha. Bye bye.